Oof, walking back.
It is. It wouldn't be a parents' lounge production unless somebody's back was out, right?
Well, I didn't want that's why I didn't want the kids behind me, because it's not really a TPL show. It's more of this is the wine show. Look at, I'm not that age. It's such a good week. I was getting back. I don't know what I was thinking about even trying to get back in shape. It's ridiculous. Are we live? We are. Welcome, everybody. This is awesome. This is so much fun. Welcome to 16600. Phil sent me wine club show from the guys from the Parents Lounge, because parents need alcohol more than anybody. So
much yes there.
Jason, we got a big afternoon of shows. I think there's going to be a whole slew of wine people coming in here, and we're going to talk wine. We're going to drink wine, and we're going to talk about love, because it's a special show.
I gave up on love once I had kids, but I'll try it again for these guys.
Well, I gave up on the love of normal love, but love of kids, and that's a different love. So, well, let's bring in our main 16600 stalwarts, Paul White and Sam Couturi. Guys, how are you? Oh, you are.
There we are.
Well, listen, this is awesome, and this is all about your wine club, and we're excited to be part of this and do a show with you guys. We have a very special release. The Val Rossi homage is coming out, and so we are having a monthly show, kind of an homage to love, if you will, and we'll talk about there's a famous love story, I think, that's going to be explored today.
Infamous, maybe. Infamous.
Yeah. Well, let's really quick. How was Valentine's Day for everybody, since it's about love? That we were going to do it last week, but I think a little thing called the Super Bowl happened, and we decided to push it a week.
That was a good call. And Valentine's Day and the Super Bowl being back to back was unfair.
That was pretty crazy, right? Yeah. Well, we have. Tell us about the story. Here's the deal. What's exactly the wine that we are talking about today?
So we're talking about a vineyard, and it's a vineyard that we actually make. We make a ton of different wines from. It's a place called the Rossi Ranch, and it's all about the guy who farmed the Rossi Ranch for, lived there from birth until death, Valentine Rossi, and. Is an important guy in like the Sonoma wine history, but it's I keep thinking about that scene in like the whole thing in Back to the Future where Marty McFly has the photograph, and if history doesn't go right, he doesn't exist in the photo. Mm-hmm. Val Rossi is that he's the professor for me. He's the guy who made my parents fall in love.
He's your Doc Brown.
He's my Doc Brown. There we go. Yeah, exactly. He's my Doc Brown, like Christopher Lloyd. My parents essentially met and fell in love picking grapes at the Rossi Ranch in 1977. It was one of the first places where my dad was really like in charge of farming and running the crews, and my mom was this like broke hippie chick who needed money, so she went to pick grapes. So if it wasn't for Val and the Rossi Ranch, we wouldn't be talking on this Sunday afternoon.
Let me ask you: was there another brother who played you like Eric Stoltz, and then they recast that part to make you Sam?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, listen, since we're talking about wines today and this wonderful story of love, I think we should bring in one of our special guests who joins us every show, and that is MJ, aka the Black Wine Guy. Because I love wine. I drink it extensively, but I don't know as much as some of you guys do. So it's always good to have some experts in who can talk about the wine.
Well, I refute your expert status. I just drink it and talk shit about it. But I probably know this much more than you, but I make it seem like I'm like really wine knowledgeable.
And you
Yeah,
know,
I
you
learned a
like-
lot from just watching your podcast, like your Instagram lives. I learned a ton from it.
No, I thank you for that. It's just me learning. I mean, it's one of these things. I got into wine because like you can't know it all, and so it's just really fun. I always learn something new. Like I learned something new. Like the light bulb just went off this week when you guys invited me to do this again. I was like, oh shit, this is the Carlo Rossi vineyard. Like literally, I just like we've been doing this for over a year. Ding ding, it just fucking went off, man. You know?
Wait, what do you mean? Because I'm not that up on it. So this is a super famous vineyard that we're exploring?
Oh hell yeah. So okay, so jug wine, Carlo Rossi, Hardy Burgundy, Carlo Rossi Chablis.
You put it over your shoulder and drink it like a
Rossi, yeah, over your shoulder. And Sam, am I correct in that I've heard rumors that in the 70s and even like early 80s that Hardy Burgundy was old vines in. There was a lot of old vines in that mix. Is that true?
I would say, the two things that Zinfandel went to before anybody cared about buying it was, white Zinfandel and quote unquote Hardy Burgundy. That was just a blend that had some, that spoonful of sugar that Zinfandel, helps the medicine go down for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you talk about that because that kind of harkens back. We were talking a little bit before the show because the show's really about love, right? About this amazing couple that came together and what has been created from that. But the fact that those old, like every time you say like the gallon of wine, all I see is a hot tub up in the California hills, up in Laurel Canyon, people naked, walking around. And at that time, I'm not sure they were quite the connoisseurs of wine. It was more about the joy of the wine and the gallon jug or whatever and everything. So it kind of reminds me of that era. And we talked about that when we're younger and our first loves and like that. I kind of look at my kids now in that same vein that they in the next, 9 and 10 years are going to have that first love that we all had. And so I want to ask each of you guys about your first love experiences. Paul, when you were a young man, a young teen. Yeah, we're going to start with you, brother. I brought you in. What do you remember? Like, it's so funny because I wish my heart fluttered like that. I remember on the phone practicing to call a girl to ask her to a dance. Do you remember that? Those vibes of like, and you're like, hey, is Kathy there? Hey, miss, can I talk? And then you talk to her and you're like, hey, I was wondering. And you're like, boom. I haven't felt like that in a long time, man. Do you remember those days?
No. I didn't have that. No.
Don't you see your daughters going through it now?
Yeah, that's like disturbing but they're not like physically tied to the kitchen wall by a wire. That's right. The difference. Is that you had to do that stuff almost like publicly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my God.
Maybe you had the dog leash that would take you.
Yeah, and the cord went under the door. Yeah. So you put it under the door, and you'd be like, "I'm on the phone! I'm on the phone!"
And you could get to maybe the bathroom or something. Yeah. But
and somebody was always like a sibling was always trying to get on the phone, and they'd fuck up.
Pick up the other line.
Get off the phone.
I can hear you breathing. Hang up.
I forgot about that. That is absolutely true. Where you're like, you wanted to have this private moment to call people, but there was no privacy in my house.
Well, there was also that added fear that the girl's father or dick brother was going to answer the phone. Like that was always the worst thing like ever. He's like, "Why are you calling my daughter?" And like I would cry and then I would hang up the phone.
I remember one time I had a girlfriend in high school and we were dating, and I obviously we had gone out polluted, and then I guess I fell asleep at her house or something. I just woke up in the morning on like the couch, and I looked over and her father was eating breakfast. He's like, "How you doing?" "Not good. This is not good." And now if I even thought about that with my daughter, I would be like, he was really cool about it. He's like, "Oh, I had a couple extras last night, did you?" I was like, apparently I had a gallon of Burgundy at that moment. I don't know. But the stuff we did then, I feel like now as a parent, I look at my kids and go like, I would explode if I saw that happen. But my father was like, yeah, whatever. MJ, what was your first experiences like?
Yeah, I would use it's. I will tell you the story of Cindy Malave. Cindy Malave.
She might be watching. I think she's in the Phil Sent Me Club, isn't she?
Yeah, she's like top 10 buyer.
She should be. No, so was I was a junior. Like I was like a late bloomer, and like she was a freshman. And this is back in the day. This is the 80s. Like people would like send you a note. Do you like Cindy? Yes, no, maybe so type shit. Like literally, right?
Yep.
So like she had a girlfriend. So, oh, she thinks you're cute and blah 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 blah. And I remember, like she was like me and my best friend at the time, Keith. She had a friend, Adriana. And they were like these two hot Latina girls, and like we just thought we were the shit. And he had a beat up like Chevy Nova, and we're in the backseat of the car. But I just remember so many things, like you're like your heart palpitating. And she had like lip gloss. Remember lip gloss? She tasted like fucking strawberries, man.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I'll never forget. Like, oh, I was like, she tastes so good. And then like, and then it like lasted like 5 days. Then she was like dating somebody else, and I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that I remember like her lip gloss, the way she smelled, her smile, her lip. Like you don't forget that shit. Like those.
You don't forget. You never forget your first, right, Jason?
Yep.
How about you?
My first.
You were 35 years old. Let's get to it.
Just is my wife currently. No, I was married before, dick. Every time. So, my first love was I had told you about her, Jamie, when we had Richard Marx on the show, and it was my first slow dance, and it was Everything I Do, Richard Marx's most famous song. We're dancing, and I got super awkward, and I didn't want to, like I panicked and I had to go to the bathroom, and I came back and she was gone. And not only was she gone, but she moved from the school because her parents were in the military. So she was gone, and I never saw her again.
So they told you.
Yeah. I found her later on Facebook. She still has the restraining order. Yeah, it was.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that was my first.
Funny.
That's old school. That's OG, original ghosting.
Yeah,
I do remember like the ends of dances, because you knew the last song was going to be like "Stairway to Heaven," and so you try to coordinate it so you could get to the girl you like before the last song. It was like,
well, she said to me, like, as I left, she's like, "I'll be right here waiting for you." She quoted the song, and I was like, "Oh, I'll be right back." And I came back, and she was gone. And so it was my first love, but also my first major heartbreak, all in one fell swoop.
well, I guess you should have known better. Nobody? That's another Richard Marx song. Anyway, Sam, for you, it must have been the bomb to go like when you met girls at school, you'd be like, "Hey, did you want to come up to my father's vineyard and go check out some grapes?"
Yeah, we can go listen to my my godfather's music. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
We had the bungalow. That was a little like wood frame tent that had a 6-foot bong in it. That was
By the way, if you
if
haven't trademarked the term bungalow, you need to do that as we speak, because that's a moneymaker.
It's now my mom's yoga studio. It's like
Is it called the bungalow or is it the Yogalo now?
We still call it the bungalow. I mean, it'll always be the bungalow forever. But I'm Italian, so I feel like I fall in love with every girl I talk to.
Hey, listen, the Irish do the same. The Irish fall in love with everything. We just make sure we keep our arms straight by our side and only dance with our feet. That's how
I'm a Cancer. Same thing. I'm a Cancer man. I love
too. I love love. I think I got married super late, like almost 50 by the time I got married. I was a serial falling in love. I love the process, and there's chemical evidence that love dissipates after 2 years. You ever seen that article? Like the chemicals that make you really love something dissipate over time, as I think anyone who's married on this knows. then it becomes a different type of love. But that first, like heart pounding, like, you know, I remember some girl broke up with me and I thought I was going to throw up. Like I was like, fuck, how do I feel like this? And I think that's how we all started drinking heavily. Is that everybody?
Cheers.
That's about right.
Cheers.
We have a great show for everybody, by the way. We have a fantastic comedian. He is an Emmy, I think he's winner. He's probably going to say he's Emmy nominated, but he has been the head monologue writer for Conan O'Brien for like the last 18 years. We have an amazing jazz pianist who's going to come in, who plays with Arturo Sandoval and tours the world. He's going to pop back. Max Hamer's back again for this show. So what do you guys say? You want to jump in and do a little, have a little comedy? I think I'm going to keep everybody here so we can have the laughs kind of help.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally, sure.
This guy, we just did a show Friday night out like by Palm Springs, and we drove together, and it was only 90 miles, but it took us 4 hours. And it flew by because we had such a great conversation about life. And I said, hey, you should come on and do some of your jokes and stuff. And he's one of my favorite joke writers. He's been working with Conan O'Brien forever. He is hilarious. Please welcome Mr. Brian Kiley. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Brian, are you there, my friend?
Hey, Brian. Oh, now he's writing on the Ellen DeGeneres show, it looks like. Yes, Brian, are you here? Can you hear us? Oh, you can't hear us.
You can't hear us.
We got to figure out his sound while we do some other stuff, I guess.
Actually, in the chat, someone said they can't hear any. Brian said he can't hear me. That's odd. I hear you guys.
Can't hear you?
No, I can hear you guys. We're fine. No, that's Brian who said he can't hear anything.
Well,
Brian, check your mic settings and make sure that nothing's checked.
Should we pull him out? You want to take a second with him, Jason, to see what you can do?
Yeah.
Okay. See what you can talk, if you can talk to him and figure it
Sure.
out. By the way, he had that was a great set, right? The opening joke was fantastic.
I was riveted. It's the funniest set I've seen in a long time.
It's really clicking today. It's
You
all
gotta get that
falling.
joke in the first 10 seconds, right? You gotta get that laugh in the first line.
After our last show, when we were like, oh my God, that fell into place. That was fantastic. And then this one is going to be technical glitch city, I guess. So talk about love. We were talking about, I brought it up, but like music from that era, because everybody watched the Super Bowl halftime show with our favorite rappers. But when I was a kid, it was Meatloaf. Like that was my sex music. College for me was Roxy Music. Paul?
Oh yeah.
Paul would bring girls home and just play the Grateful Dead, and then they'd be like, is Grateful Dead sex music?
Well, we had fun though. Not Roxy Music fun, but we
had Roxy. Everyone has to tell their best sex music.
Oh wow.
So let's see if Brian's ready, and then after we'll do some sex music talk. All right, Brian Kiley, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Brian.
I'm sorry. Are we?
Yeah, there we go.
I can hear you guys now? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
We're supposed to pick a sex music.
Yeah, really quick. I mean, but if you want to, did you have a sex music when you were, back in the day?
Back in the day, back before I was married, when I was.
Maybe sex with your wife too. I think you guys.
I
know you have 2 kids.
I guess kung fu fighting.
Oh, that's one of mine as well, Brian.
Everybody was kung fu. I love that song. By the way.
I do too.
Well, we don't want to skip on you. Is there a way we can frame him bigger so the rest of us are on the side? I don't think we can do it.
Oh.
But how do we do it with Brian?
Yeah.
How do you make him the big one? There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Kiley.
Well, thank you. It's so nice to be here. Nice to see you guys. What a day. Today I spent the day converting my son's bedroom into my office. That should get him to move out. I've tried everything. So I don't know if Jerry told you. So I'm from Boston originally, but I live in Los Angeles now. And things shut down here around March 15th of 2020. So I haven't been to the gym since 1989. I gotta get back out there. LA is a crazy place. When the pandemic started, I drove by the park in my neighborhood and I spotted a guy sunbathing naked. put a mask on. What's he thinking? Oh. With the pandemic, I felt like I was in prison. I was doing push-ups. I was reading books. I was making toilet wine. That was pretty much my day. I saw a doctor on TV today saying that we may have to wear masks for the rest of our lives. And I thought, I wish he had told me that before I got my kids' braces. Hard to say where I can. During the pandemic, I got my will taken care of. My attorney said to me, "Hi, do you want to be buried or cremated?" So I said, "Surprise me." No spoilers. I was doing some research on the internet the other night, and I discovered that there had once been a murder in the house that we're currently living in. It happened 2 years after we moved in. Raised a lot of questions, actually. I was a little kid when my grandfather died, and I remember I asked my mother, I said, "When I die, will I see Grampy again?" And she said, "Not if you're good." My grandfather came to this country from Ireland in search of a better life, and then my grandmother tracked him down and put a stop to that. I nipped that in the bud. We always called my grandfather Poppy because of his opium. Kind of a problem, but I've done some research. It turns out I'm super Irish. Even my blood type is O'. Give you some idea. I grew up in a Catholic family. By show of hands, how many people here believe in God? My best friend's an atheist. He said to me, "How can you believe God exists when you've never seen him?" I said, "Well, I believe Home Depot employees exist." I'm pretty sure they're out there. So I'll tell you a true story. I moved to Los Angeles a few years ago. I was here for a month, and I found out that one of the dads on my daughter's soccer team was a porn star. And that's not what bothered me. The fact that my wife recognized him, that was a concern. So my wife and I, we just celebrated our 29th wedding anniversary. And I'm happily married. I know that I'm lucky because 50% of married people say they're unhappily married. This is according to a poll I took earlier today at my house. What's her problem? My wife has this guy that she's worked with for years that she refers to as her work husband. They have 3 kids together. Going very well. My wife's an amazing woman. She knows a lot about wine. Like she knows which wine goes with which breakfast cereal.
That's an MJ. That's MJ.
Very impressive. I call my wife Pumpkin because she always gets smashed around the holidays.
Such a good joke.
It's around the holidays that makes it even better.
Such a good joke. Good joke.
I met my wife on jury duty. Thanks to me, she was acquitted. Oh, you can't trust DNA evidence. My wife does another thing. She keeps money in her bra. In fact, we were dating. First time I got to second base, I made $80. Pretty good. My wife, I didn't think, because she was just so. My wife's always shocked when I actually know something. Like the other night watching Jeopardy, and the question is, what's the tallest building in the world? And I said, oh, that's Burj Khalifa in Dubai. She's like, how do you know that? I said, well, when your parents are living with us, I Googled, what should I jump off of? And that's what came up. They say to treat your wife the way you want your dad to treat your mom. So today, I put my wife in a home for assisted living. I think she's really going to enjoy it. So we started seeing a marriage counselor, and the woman's given us some very valuable tips. For instance, she said, when you first wake up in the morning, the first thing you should say to each other is, I love you, and not you again. Good to know. Good to know. So we've got 2 kids. We're very fortunate. Years ago, my wife and I, we were told we were unable to have children by our landlord. It's so different being a parent these days. Every kid is on medication these days. Both my kids are on Rogaine. They insisted. My wife was one that talked me into shaving my head. She said I look much younger, and I do. I now look like I'm a week old. Wasn't really what I was going for. But my kids are getting older. I've got 2 teenagers now. It was very hard for me when my kids went away to college. But they're both English majors. So we know they'll be back living with us in a couple of years. Silver lining. My son always calls me when he's drunk. And I'm flattered that he calls me, because he's just got the one phone call. He can call anybody. So he graduates next year, and for his graduation present, we're thinking of getting him a car because we're pretty sure he's going to become an Uber driver. You want to prepare them for their future. But as much as I love being a parent, it's so nerve-wracking because you're just constantly worrying, what if they're not mine? It never ends. And, before I had kids, I was a sound sleeper. Now I wake up at the slightest noise because you never know when it's going to be like a Menendez brothers situation. You got to be ready. That's all I'm saying. My brother called me last night to complain that his teenage daughter dresses too sexy because she doesn't wear a bra and she should. And her shirt never covers her belly. And half the time her butt crack is exposed. It made me realize my dad dresses too sexy. He's got to tone that down. My other niece is really wild. For her 25th birthday, she wanted to get a tattoo, but tattoos are kind of expensive. So she made a deal with the tattoo artist that she would flash her breasts and he would finish the tattoo. Now, I don't know for sure where the saying tit for tat comes from. But I'm assuming it was under similar circumstances. My son called me today. He said, Dad, if sex robots become a thing, will you buy me one? What? I'm not paying for 2 sex robots. You guys have been so nice. Thank you so much. So much fun. Thanks a lot.
You're going to hang for a second, Ryan.
Yeah, sure.
It's so funny. So the theme of the show is love. It's about a special.
He just
We
finished
should
up.
probably do those crazy guys at the actual vineyard. We drove 4 hours the other day in the car.
We did.
It was funny because I was telling stories of my little children. I have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, and you are an empty nester. And I don't know if you, I don't know, but it seemed like you were a little emotional about the fact that your kids aren't living at your house anymore.
I hate it. I hate it.
You felt broke. Like I was like, is he crying? Is he tearing up a little bit?
Well, I didn't get too bad, but it is the kind of thing of, I wish my kids were losers that were just staying and living in the basement.
Well, to be fair, that's your fault because you raised successful children so that they could go out and be in the world. I think the key with kids is to make them unbelievable losers, and that way they'll never leave.
Absolutely. Well, my kids rebelled by being successful. It's an outrage.
Brian, if you'd like, I'd send you my 3-year-old twins. You can give it a second crack.
he like literally there's a FedEx driver who's like, here, you need to sign for these.
You don't want to be one of these older dads with little kids. Oh,
you son of a! Don't you hurt me, Brian Kiley. Hey, as another Boston guy, do you remember? Because we were talking about days of like high school dances and first loves, and how I really want to feel. I kind of sometimes remember those emotions, but it's been a long time since I felt those. Do you remember your early years and your first loves?
Yeah, but I don't look at it wistfully. I look at it like, what a moron. Like, why would I like hurt? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, yes, I mean, there are, especially the first, that stuff. It's like, because I see them now on Facebook and they're 6 years old and it's like, no, thank God that didn't work out, you know? So I wish I had that sort of romantic view of it. But I think
I never thought. It is amazing when somebody like they hook up at like 16 years old and they're like, "That's it.
Yeah,
I've never been out of this town. You're literally the only person I've ever been on a date with." But I feel like this is working.
Yes,
and you're like, sometimes it works. Rarely, but it's
rarely. That's what like when you pull into a parking space and you're still a mile from where you have to go, but you just think, I'm never going to find anything closer than this. You know?
It's true. It's absolutely true. This self-image problems when you're like, literally, I think this is the best I'm going to do.
This is the best I can do.
I don't think I can do any better. Do you remember, like, for me, the first time, I think I was in a car. It was in a car. We used to go to the drive-in. Like the kids today, they don't know drive-in movies. Like everything was the car for us. Like car was freedom, and it's like kids today they don't even want to get their license. And I'm like, well, if you don't have a license in a car, how are you having sex? Who's having? Like for me,
I don't
car
know.
was that. As soon as
you could do it in the back of an Uber, I would guess.
Would say again, Jason?
I said you could probably do it in the back of an Uber.
I would at least maybe an Uber pool.
Always writing jokes. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good one. When that's sex. What is your sex music, Mr. Brian Kiley? Is it some old Irish sea shanty?
So you're not accepting kung fu fighting as a legitimate answer?
Unless you can honestly say, you know what,
No, I actually I think Sade is good.
Yeah, I was like,
good answer.
Yeah.
Right?
By the way, still sounds great, still looks great, still smooth operator. No two ways about it. MJ,
well, at work, we had to go in, I work at Ellen, and we had to go into her dressing room before the show recently, and she always has some music channel on that's playing old hits, and it's videos, and we're having a meeting with her, and we went in a couple weeks ago, and Sade was on, and it's like, look, this is the wrong mood that you're putting us in here. It's like, what are you trying to arouse us here? It's like, you don't want to be in there with Ellen and being aroused. I don't know what to tell you.
You're trying to write jokes and you're getting a little al dente.
Yes, this is like a Pavlovian thing that we don't need here, I think. Yeah.
That's super funny. You know what? Sade is absolutely one of the greatest calls of all. Seal, I would say a lot of sex to Seal and Sade back in the day. Dude, I can't thank you enough for coming. Anybody have any questions for Brian before we let him get out of here?
What kind of wine do you like to drink, Brian?
Yeah, that's a great question.
You know, I get migraines, so I can't have red wine anymore. So, but I still love a glass of Chardonnay or something like that with my dinner. I love that. And I don't know anything about wine. What's that word that it begins with S for somebody who knows a lot about wine?
Sommelier.
Oh, I was going to go with snob, but sommelier.
Setting him up. I saw it. All right,
I had to
everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Kiley.
You guys are so much fun. Let me help your answer.
Guy's the bomb, isn't he? He's such a good joker.
So funny.
Hey, listen, I think we're going to turn everything over to MJ for a little break where you're going to do you're going to do a little Phil interview. I think Phil's coming in.
All right, we got Phil coming right in. Is my guy coming in?
I'm going to pull out gracefully as with Jason, and then we'll be back when the interview's over. And I think then we'll have Max Hamer's going to come on by.
Mom's is here. Wow.
We got Mom.
All right, everybody, class, for a fantastic wine love interview with MJ and Phil. All right, we'll be out, and we'll see you guys in a few. Have fun.
How are you?
Oh my God! Hey, Phil, how are you?
Good to see you, MJ.
Good to see you. I finally get to meet your better half.
Hi.
This is the real boss.
The real boss.
Yeah. I just stay in the background and tell everybody what to do.
That's what a boss does.
And then if they ask me, I lie about it.
Yeah, she makes the truth seem really good.
So, first of all, happy Valentine's Day, belated.
Yeah,
you know.
So
and what I used to say, now I've changed it, but I think every wine story begins with a girl, or it's a girl or a guy. Every wine story, like it's about a girl. And so here we are. I'm actually, what I have in my glass, I have the Ottolini Homage from the Rossi Ranch. It's a Mourvedre and 18% Syrah. And I went with the Mourvedre because I think Mourvedre makes it Mo better. Great movie, Mo Better Blues, by Spike Lee. So let's talk about how you met this beautiful gal you got next to you, Phil.
Well, I'll let her, she'll tell the truth.
Okay, so we actually saw each other one time, probably in August or July at an old friend's house. And
it must have had to be September because we're coming back from.
So
okay, so I laid eyes on Phil. He was with a couple other guys in a pickup truck and came riding through Sky Vineyards, where I helped plant vines before that I didn't know what a grapevine looked like. And so it was Phil Katuri and Bernie Mosier and Barney Barnett. They came through, and I don't know what they were doing. Fast forward a couple of weeks, I needed a job. My mom wasn't going to support me anymore because I wasn't going to school, that whole deal. And so I called my girlfriend, Alita Olds, and she said, well, you can call this guy Phil Katuri. He's running a grape picking crew. And I went, okay. So I called Phil Katuri, and he said, yep, meet us at 7:00 at Lawndale Road in Kenwood. And I showed up, and you got paid $1 a box for picking grapes. And they were those wooden lug boxes that hold 40 pounds?
Yeah.
40 pounds. So yeah, you pick your grapes and you take their box to the end of the row. And so we did that in the morning with a bunch of people. And then old man Val Rossi, who was probably 70 at the time,
Okay.
Sent me and Phil and a couple of other young ladies to off a vineyard off, like not part of the other vineyard. That vineyard,
down by the old winery.
down by the
Ray Riesling.
Gray Riesling, and I think he had some ulterior motives, old Mr. Rossi. Because,
Not me though.
because there were very few grapes in that vineyard, and we walked those vine rows all afternoon. I think maybe we got a couple of boxes of grapes, but we got to know each other. And then end of the day came, and we all went over to Phil's house for a shower and dinner, and kind of the rest is history.
Okay, so I believe that what year was it? 1977.
1977, yeah.
All right. So I love this. So you said like you were just kind of doing your thing. You're like, I'm not. I guess you dropped out of school, and your mom's not sending you any more money.
Yeah. That was it.
Where were you from originally?
I'm from New Jersey.
Oh shit, I'm from New Jersey. Where in Jersey?
Little Silver and Red Bank. And
shut up! I live in Red Bank. I'm in Red Bank.
You live in Red Bank? Oh no! Yeah, that's where I grew up.
Red Bank. I live in Red Bank.
Okay,
right
so
off Branch Avenue. I am literally half a mile, maybe 600 meters from Broad Street, where I live right now.
So when I was really young, we lived in Little Silver.
Yep.
I went to Point Road Elementary School. And
How do
then
you remember all this?
because I remember. And then when I was in
But
fifth
you don't
grade,
talk
my mom and
as you do, Phil.
yeah.
Yeah.
So in fifth grade, my mom and dad bought this carriage house on Avenue to Rivers off of Rumson Road.
Oh my God! Wow.
And they converted this barn into a home, and that's where we lived until I was 16, and then we moved to Philadelphia.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that's my stomping grounds was walking to the beach, walking over that bridge to Seabright,
Yep.
which got destroyed by Sandy.
Yep.
Yeah. That was my childhood. That was
Oh
a
my
great
God.
place to grow up. I got to tell you, it was really fun.
That is so Phil, you gotta Rumson, she's like she's highfalutin. You
I know. Her mother reminded me of that all the time.
Yeah,
I was homeless.
she was like, oh my God. It was just out there with these pot smoking hippies picking grapes. You're done. You're cut off.
Well, I think she was a pot smoking hippie before I met her picking grapes. That was.
I was already a deadhead. But
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So I love how you said you had seen him around probably somewhere, and like, were you kind of attracted to him then? I mean, or is there like a legend of Phil Couturier floating around?
Oh, he wasn't a legend yet.
Oh, okay.
No, he was just and it was kind of like the transition of the time when it was old Italians and young hippies who were picking grapes and doing farm work.
Yeah.
Right, kind of at the cusp of when the Latino population came into Sonoma to do that farm work. Mm-hmm. And there was our crews were really mixed as those first few years went on. We were a handful of white folks and a handful of Mexican folks, and we did all that farm work until I don't know what was like that.
So you stopped working out in the vineyard.
Yeah, and then I stopped working out in the vineyard.
What art is leaving out is Sky Vineyards is on the top of Mount Veeder.
Okay.
And it still doesn't have any electricity. Lori Olds has been a hermit up there since I think the early 70s. The road that I drove in on, we had delivered grapes to Mondavi, and so we decided to take the back way home, which means instead of going around the Mayacamas Range, we drove up to La Jolla, through Mayacamas Winery, hit a dirt road, and drove 5 miles to where Sky Vineyards is, and still is. And actually, it's a road that I travel at least once a month now because of our relationship with working at Maya Thomas Winery.
Mhm.
And it's just right along the ridge. You look that way, you're into Sonoma. You look that way, you're into Napa.
Wow.
And you go up there, and it's still pretty much the same as it was. What was that? 10 years ago we met.
More 40 something years.
So,
It's very remote up there.
Yeah. I can only imagine. So this is all about Rossi Ranch and Phil being Italian and like, here's this old Italian like had you had conversations? Was he like, you need to settle down? Like, what was what do you think like that he like sent you off like not to pick grapes with this beautiful gal?
Well, he had to live up to his name of Valentine, and he was an incredibly handsome, blue-eyed Italian from Lake Como, it was really interesting. At that time, there was definitely a bunch of kids like our age, of the hippie bent that were doing a lot of the farm work, and the old timers really embraced us and really taught us a lot about what it is to grow grapes, what it is about the whole culture of growing grapes, and the Val Rossi. I mean, Arden went out later on and pruned vines with him. He spent pruning vines.
I spent a couple of winters there, pruning grapevines with he and his nephew Paul. There was the three of us in the vineyard for weeks on end. He would give me, he was an old time farmer. He had cover crop, and so the cover crop would come up to your waist, and it was really damp out there on those winter mornings. And he gave me trout fishing waders to wear in the vineyard so that I wouldn't get wet. He was a really
waders in the vineyard, Phil. Come on.
He was great. Val Rossi was a wonderful, wonderful old guy. In fact, I'll be right back. I have a letter written to me from Val Rossi that we'll get. And I'll just go like this with.
All right. So Phil, now let's hear your side of that story real quick while she's gonna get that letter.
Well, that's pretty much where it was. I was living with another lady at that time, and she was gone during the week, and I could come back on weekends. And we were all trying to figure out what we're going to do as we entered into the next phase. Just out of college, starting my vineyard management company, and you never knew what was going to happen next, and it was an exciting time, and there's been a lot of fun, a lot of exciting times since then, and that's why in 2012 when I was invited back through Enterprise Vineyards to work at Rossi Ranch, it was like coming home again.
Yeah, wow, I can only imagine.
Yeah, and it's the wines. The wines are what the beauty is of the whole Valentine month of February, because winemaking is a multi-generational job. It needs to be. It's not a corporate. We're not corporate pawns being pushed around, but there's Val and his sister actually, and it
That must be Paul.
Yeah, it is Paul. Well, I don't know where all these come from. And
I'm coming in. I'm only coming in. I don't want to interrupt the interview, but you're talking so amazing. But since we have all these amazing photos that I think we should share.
Yeah, definitely share them. So the magic of the interwebs is going on, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, Phil, can I share some of these and you can talk about some of the photos? I mean, this is unbelievable stuff.
Well, I might not know everything about it.
It's like Adrian Brody almost. He's handsome.
It's Adrian Brody. This is from the pianist.
Yeah,
that was one of the shots from the pianist.
So the young boy is Mr. Rossi. I called him Mr. Rossi. We never called him Val, but we never called him by his first name. Mr. Rossi. His nephew Paul is the young boy in that picture, and the three of us pruned the vineyard that year. Must have been 1978, because I have this letter here that he wrote to me. Here's the envelope. It's how do I do this? Okay, in pencil. Yeah. And here's the note. My W-2 form was enclosed with this note. I don't know. Dear Miss Kramer. Dear Miss Kramer, how's things going? Are you still up and running? Are you N-I-N-G? And so are we. How was the weather? Cold here, cold there, and here too. Maybe I was back east visiting my family. And then he goes, are you still a Miss, underline M-I-S-S, or Mrs. M-R-S, underline? He goes, I hope Miss. We are clipping the vines again, Val. Very sweet.
Your W-2, you made $50 that year from picking grapes. You know.
Yeah, all in pencil. He was a very special man.
Yeah. And that's a great detail.
Wow.
Oh, there he is. There's old Mr. Rossi.
Yeah, that was.
That's about probably when we knew him.
Yeah, well, that was a little bit after.
Later. That was later.
Yeah, probably in his 80s, because.
Well, he got an equipment upgrade, which is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what? I'd rather have that old D2. You know, they're great tractors, and those barns are still standing. In fact, the vineyard behind there is. What we make a little bit of Petit Syrah off of that same block, and that's what is the beauty of this whole property and the new owner. Oh, look at that! And
his sister.
So I heard this rumor that used to go. I heard that as rumor that it said if the barn is a shaking, don't come a knocking.
Well, you know, that's why we had all that tall mustard. It's easier to hang out in.
Wait, no. If the barn is a rocking, don't come a knocking.
Don't come a knocking. Yeah, and those are Alicante vines right there.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I don't know. I look at the colors as a guy who's grew up on the East Coast, and I know Northern California does get some fall, and that's just beautiful. Have you guys taken a walk down by where the Gray Riesling was recently?
Well, the Gray Riesling was actually down below where this photo, because that was the old house that has all been reconstructed. So that's Val catching a steelhead out of the local creek.
Wow.
Runs through his property. And that is his father and mother. Yeah. And
it is funny how people posed for photographs back then. Like they didn't know what they looked like. Like my kids today know how to pose immediately at 3 years old. Back then people were like,
well,
it's this big.
Yeah.
I have to give a call out to the Odolinis who purchased this property, Paul and Sandy Odolini, and this bottle of wine is a homage to Paul Odolini, who he was the CEO of Intel, grew up in San Francisco, the Italian family. He was a year older than me. There's when we were picking grapes. And he wanted to preserve the heritage of Val Rossi.
Wait, who's that?
That's Sam.
That's
that Sam I Am t-shirt on, that Dr. Seuss t-shirt.
Nice one, Jamie. Nice one.
And that's me to the side, and that's why
you guys
Sam has never shaved. I couldn't figure out how to keep him.
It's amazing. That's just amazing.
That's my mom. My mom and dad came out and
they came around, huh?
My dad got on the back of the truck and counted boxes. He was not into getting in the vineyard.
Yeah. Well, I think just really nice to meet you, because anybody who's married, we have to admit our wife is the better half. As great as you are, Phil. Amazing. Thanks for sharing a little bit of your story and a little bit of the heritage of this amazing site. It's a beautiful. I love You know, we were talking, we were warming up how much we love. Question: what was like your soundtrack? What was like your when you were ready to get it on, Phil? What was going down, man? What were you putting on? What music were you playing?
Jerry.
Jerry?
Well, no. So one thing we did. So after that afternoon that we were picking grapes, that we didn't really pick more than a couple of boxes. Phil got in my car, and I turned the ignition. I had an old Volvo station wagon, and the local radio station was on KVRE out of Santa Rosa. And Phil looked at me and he goes, "Oh my God, you listen to the coolest radio station." Yeah, that was like.
and actually, Arden had just turned 24, and Steve Stills had the song 24 and so much more.
Yeah.
And so that we sang. I don't sing very well, but I was definitely going through the chorus as we were picking.
There you go. There you go.
And then when he got to my house, I did have a collection of Fillmore posters on the wall, and the rest, and probably,
the Fillmore, all the posters we have. He had all these posters on the wall, and I went, "Oh my God, this is the guy for me."
Yeah, it was a wrap. It was a done deal. I love it. I love it.
So it was fun, and it was and it's just fun to still be at the same vineyard. And it's still fun drinking these wines, and that's why, as I was talking a little bit about the Odolinis, they really wanted to preserve Val's heritage. This property, could grow some great Cabernet, but it was large berried varietals, had prune vines, and they wanted to keep that. And they built a little museum for Val that is a private museum that they put together all his memorabilia, and instead of tearing it down, and I deal with a lot of people, they come in and buy new pieces, these old ranches, and destroy the heritage. And the whole idea is to keep this heritage of Rossi Ranch going for a long time.
Well, I love it. I can't wait to visit. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and that was me before I shaved.
That's Val's mom and dad.
Yeah,
that's Val that's Val's mom. And him when his dad had died and he was taking over the ranch.
Oh wow, that's really interesting.
Oh, you can tell by the nose.
Yeah, Mr. Rossi used to tell me a story when they would Bennett Valley Road, which is the road from where the Rossi Ranch is to Santa Rosa, was a dirt road, and they would pack up their wagon and the horse, and they'd take the wagon over to Santa Rosa and spend the night and do all of their shopping for the month or the couple of months. And then the next day they'd get back in the buggy and horse and buggy back to the ranch from Santa Rosa. There was no pavement.
Wow.
And they survived Prohibition by setting grapes. Because the train station was in Kenwood, the Kenwood Depot. They would box grapes up, and in fact, we have some of the original boxes that they would send back east. Because you had a religious exemption. You can make 200 gallons of wine a year for sacramental purposes only, and that's how they survived through this era, this time frame. And
well, now they was asked. We all believe in God now. Thank God for the sacrament, guys.
Yeah, that's why we had visions. So no, it is a great, and it's always fun on Valentine's Day to have a toast to Val. Well, and in fact, our youngest son is Max Valentine, so that's
cheers
to
that.
Mr. Rossi.
Hey, we're coming in for the cheers. We're not being left out of the cheers. Come on, guys.
There you go. So that's a little history.
That was awesome.
Well, Phil, and thank you especially, Mrs. Katuri. She's a Mrs. now.
That's my mother-in-law. Thank you.
Such a. That's what women say. Exactly.
Yeah, nice talking to you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
You're awesome, Phil. Super fun. MJ, great interview. Super funny. Yeah, that's awesome. And it's so funny I love the history of all these things, don't you? It's really cool to me.
Oh yeah, I mean that's for me. That's what wine is. That wine is so romantic. Even this is doubly, but like just it literally is. It's like love in a glass, right? Like and as Phil's sharing the story of how for people to honor the heritage, to, you know, what's it when chefs say it's cooked with love, like these wines and these vines are tended to with love, and I think it really comes through, and that's why this wine club is so special, in my opinion.
I agree. And it is, you know, Paul and I were talking about this before when we were talking about the layout of the show and stuff, and how, you know, everything's so divided nowadays, right? Like, people are afraid to talk. There was something that said like 70% of the country are afraid to tell anyone their opinion because they're afraid of, and I feel like wine is the great uniter. Like, it kind of brings everybody together in a way. I mean, you know, eventually at the end of the night, yeah, there's going to be a fight always.
No, I say that all the time, though. I said that like in the first episode of my podcast. I was like, listen, I've never been to a wine tasting where a fight's broken out.
Never.
I mean, but you throw some fucking tequila in the mix, somebody's getting fucked up.
That's the problem. At the end of the night, the tequila comes in, because I used to work in an Irish bar, and the guy who ordered a glass of wine was never the guy who started the fight.
Exactly.
Not once. So to me, it is. I think there's something rich and rewarding about it. Like, you know the craft and the technical aspects that went to it, and so with each taste, there is this, like, I don't know, just it's really fun to see the history of it. Because Absolutely. To me, it's part of the whole allure, and you know, it's like, it's just part of the process of it all. It makes me laugh.
It's an integral part. I love what Phil said about, you know, there's a lot of corporatization going on in wine, because, you know, but like, people who can come in and who want to preserve traditions is really, you know, it's like that super deluxe. Get some booty, drop the draws tape. It's going to work every time. Get a good bottle of wine.
70% of the time, it works
every time. I don't think that math is right, Jamie.
I think it's exactly right. Well, it is funny because, you know, when I grew up, I was never a beer guy. Even now, when I go get beer, I'm like, what do you guys have for fruit? And they're like, we have like watermelon ale or something or other, or cider I'll get. I was never a beer guy. But when I grew up, wine was, you know, we didn't have the connoisseurs and the sommeliers that we knew about. It was really highbrow, and it kind of became part of everybody's vernacular. And all of a sudden now everybody knows a little bit about wine, and it makes it so much more fun, because back in the day it was like, you know, there was boxed wine. It was like, oh, you're drinking wine. It was almost kind of a weird thing in the 80s, but now it's like, if you're not drinking wine, you're not in the club.
I mean, before I got, you know, we got hooked up with these guys, the highest I'd gone is the boxed wine from Chuck E. Cheese.
It's a good one. I know. Well, Paul and I went to college, you know, and then he went off into this world. And every time I talked to him, I'd be like, oh, I'm kind of jealous about. He's like, yeah, we're doing the harvest, or we're doing the, you know, the pressing, or we're doing whatever. I'm labeling bottles. And part of me was like, that sounds fucking awesome. That sounds super fun. I still think it's a reality show, man. We're going to come up. We're going to shoot some stuff. So we're going to eventually end up doing these live, I think, with some of your virtual vinyl Sundays there. We'll make them live.
I'll have to make the pilgrimage, man, for sure.
We can road trip, MJ, because you're in New York, right?
Yeah. I'm down in Jersey.
I'm slightly north of Scranton, so we can road trip it.
Oh yeah, totally.
Well, let me ask you guys, are you ready for a little of our musical guest this evening? Paul, Sam? We talked about him before. He's been here once before. He is, you know, when you meet somebody and you go, what do you do? And he goes, oh, I play piano. And you're like, sure you do. And then you see them play piano and you go, oh, I guess you do play piano for a living. This is what you do. He tours the world playing jazz piano. He's going to come in. He's going to do a song, and then we're going to chat a little bit. Please welcome Mr. Max Hamer. Dude.
Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Gentlemen, how are you, sir? Thanks for joining us today. Are you sipping or are
Absolutely.
you just kind of playing?
Say it again.
I guess we didn't send you enough wine. You need more wine.
I know. I mean, yeah, I went through the rosé of the last shipment in probably 18 minutes.
Okay.
So, and I just can't bring myself to drink any red right now. So I'm drinking actually tequila, and I'm ready to fight.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah,
Good answer.
Virtual fight.
I'm ready to fight.
Hey, I have a question for you, dude. You've obviously been playing piano for a long time. And our topic today is love because we're right around Valentine's Day in February.
Mhm.
I always remember, like, we had a couple guys in my high school who were really good piano players, and girls kind of really liked them. Was that your experience kind of growing up as a musician?
Not at all.
Really?
No.
You
As
were
far
the
as I'm
one who was
concerned,
like,
I
"No,
think
it's
that's
about the
bullshit
craft."
because it still hasn't happened. You know, I mean, I'm married and everything, but I can't get her to come to a show. So
Well, that's because you married her.
Working at home?
Dude, I'm the same. My wife does it. She's like, did I tell you this? Somebody sent a photo of me. I'm cleaning up a murder scene, a murder scene. I'm in a jumpsuit, and she has this photo. She goes, "What the fuck? Are you working in a murder crew?" I go, "It's a movie. It's on Netflix. I shot it 2 years ago." She goes, "Oh, I didn't know. Somebody sent me this photo. I had no idea what was happening. No idea what I do for a living."
Jamie, I'm
and
60 episodes in. 60 episodes in. My wife has listened to one episode. She did not listen to my podcast. Shit, dude.
And it was an episode where she wanted to hear the guests. She didn't want to hear.
That wasn't exactly what you were about.
And she's like, "Oh, you have that person on? Oh, I'll listen to that one." Oh,
Exactly.
thank you.
But when I was first starting stand up, like any girl I was dating would come to the show and I would eat shit. I was terrible. I had no jokes. And she'd be like, "You're so funny. You're killing." She'd come every show. She'd be in the front row, like whatever girlfriend I had at the time. And then as soon as you marry them, she's like, "I don't care what you're doing. Just make sure you're home by 10." Whatever. You know,
Yeah.
It's like crazy. That's funny.
Yeah, you can stay out as late as you want as long as you're up by 6
That's
to
it.
take the kids to
As long as
school.
you're
That's what it
making
is. Yeah.
those kids at 6 a.m. That's funny. Well, talk about you. I mean, dude, you've toured the world. Last time we talked, you were in Prague, I think.
Yeah, but Prague, Azerbaijan, Sao Paulo, Beijing.
It's Arturo Sandoval.
Arturo Sandoval, yes.
Yeah,
the
and that's-
legendary.
Tour with him, world famous, many Grammys and stuff. It must be crazy to tour with these shows where everywhere you go is sold out. It's a huge show and super fun.
Yeah, it's cool because luckily the music we're playing, even though no one cares about it in the States, once you get to Asia or even like Eastern Europe, you're filling in these these ex-communist concert halls that are beautiful and so ornate. And we end up playing there because they can house us and we can, fill those houses rather than a kind of small pre-World War II jazz cellar in Antwerp, Belgium that, still has shells.
That's super
From
funny.
the
I know
war.
you're a total jazz snob. I think we talked last time and you were talking about your
I'm not jazz snob. I'm just a huge snob.
You actually are.
Just in general.
But in the best of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, do you listen to any rock and roll? I mean, did you grow up like what was your?
Yeah, I think
sex music today, and for me, it was Roxy music.
I think the rock and
Cure,
the rock and
Cure, like
roll.
the goth chicks love the Cure for sex.
Oh yeah.
What was your set the mood music?
Oh, definitely Antonio Carlos Jobim, some Brazilian bossa nova, that kind of vibe.
What does that sound like? Can you hear it? Girl from Ipanema?
Yeah, it's like he wrote that. All that, all the kind of just like. Yeah, light some candles.
It is funny to think, like in the '60s. I mean, Mad Men's one of my favorite shows. It's one of the few shows my wife and I both loved, and it just had that I don't know. There's something about that era where it was like that music was super sexy, and they would have a highball in their hand. It was like
Yeah.
na, 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 na.
I don't see why we have to, get away from that. I think that's the thing to set the mood. I mean, if
No wonder
Either
girls
that or,
weren't
like,
into you in high
either that
school.
or like Pantera.
You weren't smart enough to go learn some Billy Joel back in the day.
No, if I wanted to learn anything and try and like impress people, it would just be like learning, just like Nintendo stuff and anything like that. And I just ended up just bringing in a bunch of like dudes to my shows, and yeah, it's just.
You're like Rush. Rush is like they must be like, you guys had sex all the time. You're like, we're Rush.
Yeah,
we had nothing but a bunch of nerd dudes in our audience. We had no women at our shows. We're Rush. Do you not know we're Rush? Yeah. I mean, you never went back and learned any Elton John. There's no Elton John.
No, for sure. Yeah, I can do that, but it's just like it was way too late. It was way too late. And the problem with being a jazz musician is that, and this is why we have no fans, is because all we try and do is impress the other musicians instead of trying.
There are comics like that. And they are currently living in a tiny apartment on Laurel Canyon because they had no appeal. But when they were on stage, every comic went in the back of the room and was like, this is the dude. But the audience never got it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
I totally see that.
You're trying to toe the line of, because you want to impress musicians so they can hire you too. Because it's not just a solo act like a comedy thing where you're trying to get, I want to get into this quintet. And I would love for them to hire me if so-and-so can't make it. Right. But then you're working so hard on doing that and trying to play all this math jazz.
Jazz. Well, all right, listen. Let's set back the clock. Mm-hmm. You are this talented at piano. You are 16 years old. There's a girl who is sitting next to you who's hot. You really like. She's cute. And you are going to play something that is going, that's going to entice her. It's not going to be crazy jazz. It's not.
No, it's not. And so much that there was this girl that wanted to sing some bossa nova in our high school jazz band. And I ended up learning all these songs for her. And then I thought she was into this whole Portuguese Brazilian thing. And so I was able to I wrote a little love letter. And I saw her open it across the school, and I saw her just shred it and toss it in the trash. So,
brutal.
Is that where the scars come from?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm feeling in that blues, right? That I played before.
But you're also an athlete. You're a big soccer player. I'm so confused. The guy who plays serious soccer. You played.
Yeah. I chose
you played Division I soccer, and you're a freak musician.
Right.
I mean, I'm confused. Were they were like, oh my God, I like this guy. And then you would play crazy jazz and be like, nah, I'm out. I can't take this shit.
Yeah. I kept both worlds different because both worlds do not understand each other. So even in college where I was playing Division I soccer and I was in the jazz program, I had those friends and then I had the other friends, and they never mixed because they would not know how to talk to each other.
Did you not know about Venn diagrams? There's a Venn diagram right there.
Yeah, but I'm the thing in the center.
You are the Mac.
Yeah, but it's that was just me. It was a lonely crux. It was a million people here, a million people there, and then just me.
I don't know, man. Giselle Bundchen, right? Giselle Bundchen, she's Brazilian, right?
Yeah.
Dude, so anytime it's just me, that's where you want to be.
There's a place in Bossa Nova football, and Sasha, because Sasha just sounds sexy as an alcohol.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where you should have been macking. I'm just saying.
I know.
Dude, if I were you, I'd fake my death, get a fake ID, and I'd go to Portugal, and then I would destroy. Yeah. Oh my God, you would crush in Portugal.
You need a flux capacitor and go back in time.
You gotta go back.
I need to go back 10 years before I was actually doing this, or 10 years after. I think the time in between 1998 and 2004, what I was doing and excelling at was just not hip. And
it's so crazy to me.
I know. I'm thinking about. I'm really thinking about. It wasn't Starbucks selling that world music CDs at that time, dude. You should just went in a coffee shop and hung out. All that world music shit, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, you could have gotten laid just hanging out at Starbucks.
I have a mind like that. I'm like, what's the angle? Where can I get the? I used to have a mind. I used to have a mind like that, honey. If you're watching.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Max. What would be when you were in college? When you brought a girl back to your room? What would you put on to entice her?
I thought we just had this conversation. I would put on.
Is that all? I mean, if you're putting on the girl from Ipanema, I'm thinking is that why you're not getting laid?
I mean, I wasn't putting on Girl from Ipanema. I was putting on like the other ones, the other ones that were like a little bit better. But I mean, I just did that as an example so everyone knew exactly what Bossa Nova and Antonio Carlos Jobim was. But
you were totally that guy. Like the girl was like, she's trying to take her clothes off, and you're like, no, hold on. You don't know enough about this guy. Let me explain.
Like, no. It's like,
no, you don't appreciate what I'm playing for you.
Can you just listen for a second what this dude's playing right now? And how hip can we just, No. Just wait. Thank you. But wait 1 second and pay attention. Wait, where are you going? Why are you leaving?
Honestly, I can see that happening. Hey, do we have a special guest at the vineyard right now? What's happening down here? Let's can we highlight that one, Jason? How do I don't know how to do this thing. How do I highlight Winery 16? There it is. Hey, Max, hang for a second and then play another song on our way out?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Hang on. Yeah. What's going on here? Who's here?
We try and connect all of the dots with more music and cannabis in the wine world. So two of our good friends, Jeff Pearson, who box set further, is played with everybody, and then his lovely wife Sarah Mitrapan. Did I say that right?
You did.
Yep. Yeah. Who is a cannabis educator and activist. Keeping.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. As soon as you said cannabis educator, I was like, wow, how do you get that job? That sounds like a fantastic job.
I love my work. I love it.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's good work if you can get it.
Right now, there's a lot of teachers going, oh, I forgot the cannabis part of the teaching.
Yeah.
Can you educate us on cannabis really quickly?
Yeah, what do you want to know?
Everything.
Everything?
You want to give them a quick Cannabis 101?
Yeah, give us a few minutes of Cannabis 101.
Can you condense it down to 5 minutes?
To 5 minutes? It's more about what do you want to feel, figuring out what works well with your body, because we all react differently. There are non-euphoric ways to use cannabis to get relief and stress relief and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with euphoria. In our society, we are so caught up with, feeling bad about feeling good. And not everybody tolerates cannabis. Even though we have legalization, it's still a substance that creates a reaction in the body. And we have to be really mindful about that. So my job, I actually am the public education officer at the Apothecarium. So we have a few stores, we do a few things. And I lecture at places like Kaiser, UCSF. I've lectured at Haas. I taught classes at City College, and I do things around policy and access and just really getting people to feel comfortable with it so that we can create safe environments and then create better policy and create some abundance for some people.
Okay, let me tell you right now, you're my new favorite person on earth.
Here, I have questions.
Yeah.
We all have questions. Jason, hit it.
Yeah. So I have a 6-year-old with a hyperactive imagination, believes he's Spider-Man, tells people he is so. I have twin 3-year-olds. Help me.
What blend would you what little blend would you mix up for Jason to help him get through the day?
To get through the day? Now, what time?
Well, at least so I stop crying.
Wait, for you or for the kids?
Just
for me, probably
on the
for
floor
me.
sobbing. What would he ingest to make him feel better?
Do you like to smoke or do you like to eat?
Eat. I'm gonna eat. Look at me. I'm basically a giant Danny DeVito. Let's eat. Yeah.
So I would suggest doing ratios of CBD to THC. Now, I'm not one of these people that says CBD to do everything. It'll wash a car, save your marriage. It's the end all be all.
Well, I don't need my car washed. I just need to stop.
See, and that's why I didn't add that in. Otherwise, I would have. But if you want something that gives you some nice euphoric effects, takes the edge off, and also helps with stress, CBD and THC together can be really good. And also, if you're one of those people that says, what's up with the weed these days? It's crazy. And I remember when it used to be chill and I felt good and there wasn't this crazy paranoia. That's because most cannabis before had some CBD in it, because there's a full balanced effect, which we call the entourage effect, with all those cannabinoids and terpenes.
So if you want to have something that's fast acting, use a sublingual like a tincture, or you can even do something like if you like chocolate, you can actually let it dissolve in your mouth, infuse chocolate, and get that same sublingual action.
I like to absorb it anally. Is there like a lozenge or something that I can just
There are suppositories.
There actually are.
You can keister that. Like nobody's around.
Yep.
You want to.
You stir it up, Jamie. Do it.
I like to do a headstand in the corner, insert, and then just let it slowly drip down. Like just droplets off a stalactite in a cave. Just
You're
one
not
at a
alone
time.
in that, my friend.
My boy.
Do you have a spotter for? Do you have somebody spot you?
I usually do it. Yeah.
At my age, I have 2 spotters. I have 2 spotters.
You got to have a spotter for doing that.
I have a question. I have a question for you. So you are in college. You're super high. You met this guy who's like a jazz pianist at some crazy frat party. You go back to his place, and he starts to put on bossa nova, and you go, dude, no. What music would you play for a little late night soiree? What's your go-to music for a little,
I would say bossa nova.
Yes, see, she gets it.
She's actually a jazz singer, and she does.
Shut up!
What?
Yeah.
Hit it, Max. And
So
I've got a little voice today. I haven't been
just a little joke. When people get caught on cue live over the global internet, it can be tricky sometimes.
I used to play in college when I brought a girl back to my dorm room. I used to play this little song called Cocaine. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it never failed.
I believe Eric Clapton sings it.
Yeah, that's a different version. Yeah,
you just had an interactive. It was an interactive song.
I went to college
in Cocaine.
I went to college in the
play it and go. Oh, I also have a PowerPoint that goes along with this song that I think you're going to be interested in.
That's why it was great to go to school in the '80s because
right. And also, whatever you did stayed there. Nobody took a photo of it. Nobody tried to shame you. It was there. This is totally off subject, but recently they're showing kids from this era, and they're showing them photos of kids their age from the 80s. And they have 2 comments, 2 very specific comments. They look at the kids from the 80s and they go, oh my gosh, they look old. They do. That's what the same way we looked at like a guy our age from like the 40s, right? He was building the fucking Hoover Dam, and he was like, you're like, is that guy 80? No, he's 22 years old. Like, and they also said, this was their second comment. They said, they look happy.
That's right.
And I was like, they were, because you were allowed to make mistakes. You could do whatever you want, and you were never afraid. Like we talked about it earlier, people they're afraid to say anything in this community that we're in. Yeah. And that's why wine, and especially cannabis, allows people to go, you know what, man, who gives a shit? Let's just enjoy the community and be part of it. So it makes me laugh that you talk about that from the 80s. What was your big music to go to back in the 80s?
Well, other than just providing cocaine.
I mean, with Coke, was it like Ride the White Horse?
Cocaine.
What was the big
matter what music you put on?
What was the big song about cocaine? Was it Ride the White Horse? And what was the other one?
Man, I don't even remember.
Pipeline.
That's the one. Is that it?
Lines running through your mind.
But I used to use, a little cocaine, a little Dark Side of the Moon.
Sure.
Oh my God.
Boy, that's. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's a conflict. I got a problem.
Right.
I know, but see that like just takes the whole night to another level because you throw some wine in there, a little cannabis. You're up, you're down. You're fucking around with Roger Floyd and the boys. I mean,
If you're if you have cocaine and Pink Floyd, you also have to show the Wizard of Oz and line it up perfectly. Remember that when you right Dark Side of the Moon and then use some Coke. I would imagine Coke with Dark Side of the Moon might be a little.
That's the darkest side of the moon.
Well, keep in
mind, you know what? It's an even darker side of the moon. I'd forget. That makes me laugh. That's
keep in mind the cocaine. Real cocaine wasn't really speedy, like the shit they say is cocaine these days. It was
now it's fentanyl, and that's the other thing about this era. Back then, you could I wasn't a huge druggie because both of my hands were filled with drinks, so I had no means to get the drugs into my system.
Fair enough.
Because I had a third hand. Holy cow, the amount of drugs I would have done. But I only had two. Unfortunately, I had two. I was double fisted. I had 2 cocktails. So, but nowadays, you see in the news, it's like they just thought they were doing a bump of coke, and it's all fentanyl. And you're like,
Right.
It's a terrible time, man. Remember the 80s, baby?
Remember when
You could trust our dealers.
to give you the right drug in a bathroom at a club?
That's right. And you trusted that guy. And you're like, I don't know anything about you except you drove that van here tonight. But that alone, that you own a van, tells me you know something about drugs. And sure, yeah, whatever you
And you're into
It's
Rush.
lined with plastic. Sure.
And are you into Rush? Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm a man. I like Rush. I took Sarah to see Rush, and she said it was the only concert she's ever been to where there was no line at the women's bathroom.
It was me and one other woman really confused, spinning around that room, wondering where everybody was.
Okay. I used to do a joke because I went to the Indigo Girls with the Dixie Chicks with a girlfriend I had at the time. And in the middle of the show, I was like, I went to take a piss, and I was literally the only guy in the bathroom. There was nobody else in the men's bathroom. It was just me and like 2 lesbian girls. I don't know what happened. There was nobody else there. It was crazy.
You and 2 girls with the same haircut. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know. He, she, they. That's the other thing. It's like he, she, they, who, what? I got old. I don't know what that. Sweet Jesus is the perfect evolution of a beard growth. Here comes the wine in. All right, listen. We got to wrap this thing. You guys are awesome, though. So you're going to send out free samples, right, to everybody who's watching.
Send me your addresses. You'll get a little.
I'll tell you what.
Just say that to her and to not me, though. I'm not getting out anything free. You have to buy the wine.
I'll tell you what.
Oh, no, the wine. I'm talking about the pot. We're getting the pot.
I played with the Grateful Dead in a band called Further for 6 years, and I thought there was a lot of weed floating around the Grateful Dead guys until I married Sarah. And the amount of weed is off the chain. It's unbelievable how much product is in our house.
If you come visit us, you will leave with something.
Yeah, because it's falling out of all of our cupboards.
I don't think I'd be capable.
I'm in for the chocolate already.
I had a vision of their house, and there's it's like Motel Hell, where the people just come in, they get super high, and then you guys grind them up into sausage and serve them. I feel
exactly. Sweeney Todd.
Like, you say, "Oh, you leave." Nobody's leaving. Nobody's leaving that house. Like your house, there's no carpet. There's just human bodies like laying on the floor all over the house. Oh, yeah, that guy's super high. That guy's
pretty much. Sam's been there. He can tell you.
I'm still high.
You guys are awesome. Hey, do you want to hang around? Max is going to close this out with one song and maybe some jazzy stuff going.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of in the same theme of
Hang on, let's can we? There we go. All right, hey, listen. Before we do this is going to be our final song, and we're going to wrap this show. Super fun. We do this every month. It is the Wine Club from 16600.
I believe it's called Virtual Vinyl Sunday. You're welcome.
Virtual Vinyl Sundays, and the club is called Phil Sent Me because of Phil Couturi. And so it's a really honestly, it's kind of fun to have some wine, and you guys are super high. And everybody, hey, real big thanks to MJ for joining us. Really quick, MJ, where can everybody find the podcast?
TheBlackWineGuyExperience.com will take you there, and we're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts, Audible, Stitch, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us.
It's a great podcast, dude. I really enjoy it. And your Instagram account is fantastic. It's always about wines and pairings and all kinds of super stuff about wines. Sam, you want to tell everybody a little something about where they can come join the club? If some of these people are fans of our show, The Parents Lounge, and your wine club is fantastic, how do people find it?
Yeah, best thing is go to the website, winery16600.com. You can join the club. We send out shipments twice a year. When you're in the club, you never pay for shipping. Right now, if you dig in a little deeper on the website, we have every wine from the Rossi Ranch that we've ever made available. And the Uber Rossi will send you one of these wooden boxes and every wine that we've ever made from the Rossi Ranch. So that's just like a little special right now. The Spring Wine Club shipment will be coming out like late March, early April.
And they're so good.
So good, dude. Like, it's so good. Max, dude, you have stuff on Spotify. You have a ton of stuff. Where can people? Is it just Max Hamer on Spotify?
Yeah, Max Hamer on Spotify, Max Hamer Music on Instagram. You can also look at my Bandcamp, which is, I think, bandcamp.com/Max Hamer. There'll be some CDs for sale. CDs, I just saw a new article saying that Adele single-handedly has caused CDs to come back because she put everything on CDs, and now people are starting to treat it like vinyl 10 years ago. Or it's making a comeback now.
Wow.
So nice.
That's actually it's a good thing for comics because we don't have any merch to sell after shows. We used to sell CDs, and now it's like, hey, do you want an MP3? I don't know how to. Here's a thumb drive. Like, there's nothing.
Yeah, or a digital download card, and it's just they get lost, or people think it's like an LA Fitness thing you put on your key.
There is something for. I miss the tangible days of holding something physical in your hand, but it's because I'm old and I'll be dead soon, and everyone else will move on. You guys can find the Parents Lounge. Jason and I do shows. If you guys are parents and you have kids, we do a live show every Tuesday night, similar to this, with different comics and performers and parents coming in telling crazy stories. It's you can find us here on Facebook, the Parents Lounge, or YouTube, or Twitch, and come join that and commiserate with the other parents. And I think that's it for all the promos for everybody. Max, you're going to take us out with a little song. We'll finish off our wines, and then we'll see you guys next time here in the Phil Sent Me Club.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Oh. Love you, brother. All right, everybody. Good night. We'll see you next time.
Good night,
Thank you, guys.
everybody.